Well, welcome everyone to a really special Unconversation here today. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you, Kimberly. And we have a nice group here kind of watching in the audience, and we'll open up to questions in about a half hour. But for this conversation, that's all it is. It's a conversation. This isn't scripted. There's no agenda. It's just to have an unconventional unconversation around things that typically get swept under the rug. And those are, in my opinion, I think you can agree, the most important things, the things that we aren't really talking about. So I want to just kind of introduce you briefly with your bio that you shared with me because I just think it's so beautiful. Kimberly Flear has lost herself before and knows what it takes to come back. She is not here to perform expertise, but to speak from lived experience. Her perspective is shaped by decades in hospitality and years of deep inner work. She brings honesty, steadiness, and the kind of courage forged through real inner work, believing the most meaningful conversations happen when we stop posturing and start telling the truth. Yeah, Kimberly, welcome.
Thank you. I almost wanted to say amen. You know, thanks for having me. I uh, I really enjoy your presence and all that you're creating, and to be a part of the community is really special. So thanks for opening up this space. I think we're gonna have some really fun topics, and maybe a few people can squirm in their seats a little bit because I think that that's the really important thing is that it's okay to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's when real transformation happens, you
Totally.
know? And I think you and I both know that. I resonate so much with your words and your story and all you share and represent on social media very publicly, I think is super brave. But what I really want to do is it's not really like this isn't a normal podcast. This isn't like we need to go through your whole resume. But what I pick up from all of your very direct posts and you have a lot of strong opinions, which I love. Um, you're clearly trying to prevent others from feeling some sort of suffering that you've felt. So can you just maybe talk about that? Like what was that suffering and why are you so passionate about it?
I think the suffering is was rooted in silence from actually the truth of what's going on. So speaking in that way and being open and honest about the realities of what we experience in the industry, yeah, is to make others aware and say to feel safe to have these conversations. And then also to allow them to know that there is a way out and that there are ways to navigate recovery still within the industry. But I think silence is where this suffering was really rooted in. I never felt personally like I had anywhere to go that was safe and that would hold space for what I was truly experiencing through the loss of my father. Um, I mean, I don't want to go down the pathway of what was. I'm really rooted right now in what is and where we're going. I've spent a lot of time having conversations about what was,
Yeah.
to be honest, but what was is no longer. And that's even right now going through a big shift in my own personal transformation. There's the container of social media and what people see. And I think you can relate to this, Mike, but that's one part. That's one container of my life where I show up authentically and vulnerably. But there are many other different containers as well. Um, and I think that, yeah, recognizing that is really important and how to merge and kind of morph all those together to show up for others, so they can be fully themselves too and fully express themselves authentically. So when they do need help, they know they have someone to reach to. I've seen too many people slip through the cracks and too many people hiding what's going on as well. And I'm very, it's a delicate dance. I don't want to throw people under the bus. That's not my intention. Um, but when you start seeing people that you love and that you've worked for and that have walked a similar path to you in an industry that, you know, never acknowledged it. Uh, that lights a little spark under my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I feel that too. How did you break that silence? Like what was it, reaching a point where you had no choice, or it was like enough was enough, or you found a resource? Like what was that
Yeah,
that
so
shift?
interestingly enough, so I'm a Taurus, so I'm a stubborn, very, very stubborn. So I hung on to all of my habits, patterns, behaviors, and addictions quite strongly. And so it was basically like I call it the two by four, right? So spirit comes in and hits me with a two by four and doesn't really give me another option besides to level the fuck up because I'm here for greater things.
Yeah.
And so that first, I got many two by fours, and I actually recently got one on January 5th of this year. Hence why I've not been so active and vocal on social media and even within my community, apart from my Sunshine Coast community, which is separate from my online community. But so that two by four comes in and kind of shakes you up. I picture it, the little snowball, and it gets shaken up and everything crumbles, so you can really take inventory on what matters most to you. And at the point of when I quit drinking, I had already started to dabble in practices like yoga and meditation. And so I was already becoming aware of the energetics and what gets stored in the body. But again, I was so stubborn. I was like hanging onto that bottle with all my might. So what was happening is I was raising my frequency and in that aspect, showing up on the mat. But then I would drink and I would slip into a deep state of depression because I was
Hmm.
becoming out of alignment. And so to the point where everything kind of around me had to crumble and dissipate for me to really wake up. And so that was one of many two by fours, but that was kind of the first one. Quitting alcohol and switching that was the trajectory of where I am now. That kind of got me out of the industry, got me into the forest, got me, into the life and the practices that I embody now and the principles that I live by.
Yeah, I mean, I totally resonate with that. I always say you need to be shaken to awaken. And when you look back, obviously hindsight's 2020, but it's like there were so many little nudges and taps, and
Oh,
then like hard taps, and then shakes, and then violent shakes. So it's like I'm always thinking about, does it need to get that bad? It seems like it does, but I don't like,
yeah.
that's what I don't want other people to have to suffer as much as I did and get to like that low state where, yeah, they're like when I almost destroyed the relationship with my wife, like that was a huge wake up call. So how did you know this was the two by four? And are you comfortable sharing? Like, was it a thing? Was there like one two by four that was like, okay, it's time to let this old version of me go?
Yeah. Previously, so in 2020, when I made the choice to get sober, I think it was like a lot of little things. Like it was relationships I couldn't maintain. I had no money in the bank. I was literally slipping into a state of depression where I couldn't function. So yeah, I guess that's a pretty big two by four,
Yeah.
And similarly, I want to say that in through prayer and meditation and through journaling, asking spirit for some kind of to help me, right? We ask and we pray for help and we get it and we don't see it, so it gets louder and louder until you
Hmm.
can't ignore it. And then but it takes a certain level of awareness to recognize that that is actually your higher self moving through you for you to level up. And it
Totally.
takes a great sense of devotion and practice, and I think it is really important to allow others to I wouldn't want anyone to actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I think everyone has to hit their place of darkness. I think
Yeah.
it's maybe in my experience, and you can maybe relate to this, is that it's about making sure they have the tools and the practices and the self embodiment to move through those darker days so they're not reaching for relief or going back to old patterns and habits. I think everyone, and especially right now, collectively, it needs a little wake up call because it's got to start. We're never going to get to that beautiful new earth. We're going to get there, but it takes individual work and practices and having those tools in place and that level of awareness not to reach for what keeps us in this perpetual loop, right? That's, yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was at my lowest point bartending, and there was a cocktail waiter. His name was Devin. And he's like, I see you're struggling. I really think you should read this book. It's called The Four Agreements. And I, I remember I said, I don't read books like that. Like here it was. Here was like the thing that was going to unlock, peace for me and personal freedom. And I was like, no. And then he was persistent, which I'm so grateful for. But it's like when you look back, it's like how many of those things are there until you're finally almost like in a dark enough place to be like, I'm sick. I'm sick of feeling this way. Or for me, it was, I don't know how you feel, but I was like, I'm tired of being a burden to the people around me. I want to be an uplifter. I don't want to bring the energy down. And I knew I was. That's when my wife was almost leaving me, and I was, I still I'm not sober, but man, like the difference from back then, like a shot of Jameson every hour on the hour plus a little drink on the side to sip during my shift. And then I would finish my shift and then go out. It all changed just from, like you say, kind of starting these practices where I didn't want to wake up hungover. I wanted to have a clear head. And it was easy. Like when it wasn't like I need to stop that one thing. It was more like I'm starting a new path. The old path fell away. I mean, do you have any kind of similar like experience of the new version of you that was emerging?
Two, easy yes, simple no, perhaps.
Could you
Um,
go deeper into that?
Yeah, just in terms of like I think every individual person is going to have a unique story to what they're bringing forward to heal and what it is that they need to look at through the use of drugs and alcohol or whatever it is that they're reaching for. I think everyone's story, everyone's energetics and what is stored in the body is going to look different, and that will manifest and express outwardly differently for everyone. And in my case, I come from a lineage of a lot of rage and anger. I had to feel a lot through. I needed somewhere to channel that safely. Um, Emotions are information, and so I healed a lot through that. So, uh, you know, gratefully, a lot of practitioners and a lot of mentors came on my path throughout that process. But that's why I retreated into the forest, and I was
Yeah.
able to create this life that held the container for what it was that I needed to unpack. Like I don't want to go back to the past, but I don't remember my childhood. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened, and
Mhm.
as I'm starting to crack open that nut and heal, and this will be a journey that's going for a long time, I believe. Snippets start to come back, and I can only know through the expression of emotion, not through memory.
Yeah. No, I resonate with a lot of that too, and fuzzy childhood memories and things like that. But you said something really powerful there, which was like it's this journey is going to be continuing for a while. I truly believe like the spiritual journey or whatever you want to call it, the journey of self-love is it's not like a certificate that you get. And as some, two people, both of us who are teaching others and guiding others and leading others, I sure as hell know I'm not perfect. And I think that that's another thing is like people are maybe waiting for some kind of ideal or vision of perfection that just is a myth, right? I mean, do you feel that too?
Yeah, I don't, yeah. Perfection, I mean, it's just, it's a word that we've defined and we've given meaning to, and we've given this ideal, right, this ideology to that you're right, essentially does not exist. And I think life would be quite boring if it was all perfect, because I'm here
Yeah.
to express myself as a human and to be and to experience all the duality that I chose to be here through, right? Um, so where were we going with that? Go back to the original. It was,
Just the
sorry.
never-ending journey and not needing like
Yeah.
a specific ideal of perfection to be ready for the path of almost like a new
Yeah.
identity.
Yeah, and I thought I knew where I was going last year, and funny enough, again, I mentioned earlier, January 5th, I got hit with a 2x4, and that 2x4 was something that I was subconsciously asking for. And because my life is not perfect, and no, I don't do drugs and I don't drink alcohol, but I have other things that were holding me back for showing up authentically. And I felt like I was kind of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole a little bit, trying to show up in a world that wasn't really me, but I felt I had to be in. And that's the
Mm,
corporate world, right?
hmm
And so this is kind of, multifaceted in how I experienced it. And I don't, know how much I really want to share about what I experienced, but it has set me on a trajectory of a new path that is more authentic and that is more rooted in who I want to be and how I want to show up. It's allowed me to review my principles and my core values again. And I took inventory of every space I was showing up in and what didn't feel good to me or authentic to me. To be honest, I actually walked away from all spaces. I'm not going to, nothing really stayed in the last 6, 7 weeks of my life. I posted a little bit on LinkedIn, but I was very quiet in this internal process. And I actually sent you a private message. It's that dark night of the soul, and those will
hmm
continue. But I
Yeah.
think we want them to continue. But they do get easier. They're not simple for me, but they're easy because I have the tools and the practices. And my gosh, the like power of love and community and prayer got me through what I just experienced. I had to deal with I've never gratefully had to really be embedded in our medical care.
hmm
I don't see it as healthcare. I see it as sick care, and that's a whole nother
Yeah.
maybe unconversation we can have. But our
Completely
systems
agree.
are crumbling in every area of our society, and and I got a glimpse of it, and I'm okay, and gratefully again coming in ceremony and circle and understanding the intelligence of the human body. I truly believe we can heal from anything, and I recognized how transactional it is. And it wrapped up yesterday, this journey that I was
Mm,
on. And so that's why I love this kind of
mm,
non-coincidental timing of this conversation. And I stood in my power, and I believed in the intelligence of the body. And um, it's really beautiful. Yeah, I'm in a really, really great energy today. Plus, I had a really powerful breathwork ceremony last night. And so I really embody what it takes for me. This is what it takes for me. And it looks different for everyone. But I think
yeah.
the biggest gift for myself is self leadership. Just looping
Yes.
back around to the self hospitality. You're nailing it on the head with that. And that's why I'm really happy to see the kind of that community that you're creating that recognizes and that's where I pulled back to kind of reflect on the workplace environment and the employer side of the work I was doing. Yeah, that seems, collectively making a greater impact, but it's an individual journey for each and every leader, right? To have to put their hand up and say, hey, I can't do this. And one of my mentors last night was speaking about a flock of birds that flies in a V and why they do that. And the one in the front gets tired and goes to the back, and the next one comes in. And right. And that's leadership,
Yeah.
right? That beautiful flow of, yeah. So um, I'm just going to, yeah, wrap up that little,
No, I love that. I love
yeah,
that.
that was a lot of different shares in there.
No, it's embodying, who you are and what you're all about and constantly evolving that too, because we're constantly evolving beings.
Yeah.
You said we don't want to focus on the past and like what's new and exciting for you. And I know you're kind of tiptoeing around how much you want to share about what you've been through and what's going on, but whatever you feel comfortable sharing, like I want
Yeah.
you to just feel comfortable to share like anything you want about this new direction or clarity that you've received.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's kind of like standing at a crossroads and a little bit in the fog. And we've just wrapped up kind of the year of the snake, and again, the fire horse year is here, and so I feel like the horse is out of the gate, but it's just not too sure which way it wants to go yet. But what I do know is that, I know what my principles are, and so my work will definitely represent that, and a little bit less corporate, and really I really love working one-on-one with individuals, and so I see it going that direction. A lot more. Yeah, I'm going to leave that a little bit of a mystery for people because I'm still in the creation stages. And as I embark on this journey, I've learned that sharing too much too it's not a great, yeah, it's kind of like leaving a little bit for yourself
hmm
because it's not really like molded into exactly what I want to put out into the world. And I don't want to fragment that. I don't want to kind of disrupt that. But just, it's really rooted in uh, self-leadership, spiritual
Yeah,
leadership,
it sounds like
authentic
spirituality,
expression.
self-love and
Yeah, and showing up in that way. And I really think there is an opportunity for us to still work in the realm of the employer world by giving people the tools and those practices that I think are really missing in the day-to-day operations
yeah.
of our workplace, which is that nervous system regulation, which is that self-awareness, right? So still kind of, yeah. Again, I'm not
Well,
100%
no,
sure.
you and I are on the same exact
I felt that too.
page.
Yeah,
I mean, exact, as much as I do on the corporate side too, it's all individual coaching, even if it's in a group setting, even if it's a
yeah,
keynote from a stage, it's it's about you and how you're showing up and do you like who you look at when you look in the mirror, And it's
yeah,
like if you don't, everything else is like empty and hollow and shallow, and you're trying to make up for that void by filling it, but it's a void. It's a bottomless pit.
yeah.
And whether it's, addiction to substances or addiction to work or addiction to burnout or addiction to identity, there's so much in there if you don't have, my opinion, a solid foundation of who you are
Yeah.
and actually liking who you are, which also means being able to sit with yourself in some silence and go through that uncomfortable, like getting to know yourself phase, whether you're 40, 50, 60, 70. It doesn't matter if you're feeling that like, I don't know who I am and I don't like myself. That's great awareness, right? I mean, what's the alternative?
Absolutely. I heard someone say, you can only love someone else as much as you love yourself.
Hmm.
We can only show up at a capacity that, right? So our nervous system represents our reality. It represents our bank account. It represents how we lead others. It represents how we lead ourselves. So, which is all rooted in self-awareness and being able to sit with self,
Yeah.
right? And we need more of that. We need to be okay with who we are and all of our imperfections
Hmm.
and get outside and put your bare feet on the fucking earth because the medicine is really right in front of us.
Well, I heard something
And I want to
amazing.
teach that. I want to get people out of this systemic, it's shifting, it's changing. We need alternatives.
Yeah.
And that's, really important, I think, information for people to know. The old ways aren't working anymore.
I heard something amazing, which was like, if you haven't seen the sun in 5 days and you go to your doctor and he gives you a prescription for antidepressants, you don't have a doctor, you have a drug dealer.
Yeah,
It's like
totally.
it's right
Yeah,
there in front of
yeah.
us. It's like, and that's why I love where you live. I love this beautiful
I
home
do.
you
I
have.
have created a life that I don't need to escape from. I don't need to go on a holiday. I do. Don't get me wrong. I don't just, I get cabin fever, no pun intended. But like it was really important to me and I never followed like that. And I think this is a very rooted in hospitality as well, and that kind of like restaurant lifestyle and but where we work, I don't know, and wait to go on holiday. Or I've always just lived in really, yeah. I'm not waiting for retirement before I enjoy my life. And I've had that motto even in active addiction. That's probably why my life was so much fun, is because I was yes to everything, regardless of boundaries. Um, but now, really it's more rooted and authentic into, a more holistic lifestyle, but still saying yes to life.
I resonate with that so
Well,
much,
yeah, I mean, yeah, built
Well,
a,
just like the concept of memento mori and
yeah,
remember thou art mortal, like we're gonna die, wring as much joy out of every day, carpe diem, seize the day. But then I question, I'm like, well, then shouldn't I go out tonight? Like, shouldn't I have a few drinks? Shouldn't I go listen to some live
mhm,
music? And it's like, it comes back to what we were talking about the whole time, which is you have to know yourself. Like, you have to know what works for you and what doesn't. And it's not a 50-50 split of like being out there versus being in here. It's like, for me, it's probably like 80-20. I need so much time for myself before I can be social or be a coach or do anything. And I don't apologize for that. I love that I know that about myself, and life is so much better that way.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm a 43-year-old woman who lives in a cabin in the woods with no children and no husband. And so I've really and there were times where I thought, what have I done wrong? Why do I not why do I not have three kids and a husband and all the things? That wasn't my journey.
Yeah.
And I got to be unapologetic for that, for myself first, that there's nothing wrong with me. There's a purpose I'm here. It's so much greater than that linear time frame. And I'm really proud that I didn't fall into that. I'm proud of the journey that I've been on.
I get this visual of it just came to me of like how most people live is they have like a shitty garden with like rocks and weeds in it, and then they just start planting stuff in it, like, home, house, relationship, kids,
Yeah.
and you've tended the soil, like you've removed all the twigs and like it's whatever it attracts into you in terms of external stuff, it almost doesn't matter because you're good. Like that's the best feeling. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, it is. It just yeah, it feels great. But not every day. Like it's still like there's still been again like the last 6 weeks have been really eye-opening for me. I got hit with that 2x4 and um, but I never played into the diagnosis. I never said I have or I said they
Hmm.
found.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a little bit of, I'll share publicly, there was a little bit of cancer. I'm not going to get
Hmm.
into super, deep details, but it was found and there's no trace of it left. And,
Amazing.
through, yes, I had to go through the medical care but no surgery. And like, fuck, it's
Hmm.
wild that, that I just went through that. So I'm still integrating. I'm still moving through the landing here in the new. So I still may be quiet for a little bit. I still, am going to be finding my way in the fog, but I do know that my purpose on this beautiful earth is to give my gifts and my lived experience. My leadership is not an MBA. It's not textbook. It's
Yeah.
human here, and I'll only attract the people who resonate with that. And that's also a powerful place to be when you're in a world that sometimes can be saturated. Everybody thinks they have the solution to your problem right now. But
Right.
actually, you have the solution to your problem because if you have the problem, you have the solution. And that's a big part of my message. We just can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. And so that's
Yeah.
where a mentor and a coach come in because we can. I can
Well,
let
and
you
that's
know.
where the term coach came from, stagecoach, like
Yeah.
getting you from one place to another, guiding you along the way, but then you're good. Like that's the point, is to ultimately soar on your own and not be dependent on a person or a system. It's like finding that inner light within you. And
Yeah.
I feel it from you. Like it's just such a I love this conversation because I it's just such good energy. It's just like
Yeah.
groundedness and enoughness. Like it doesn't have to be more.
No. Presence is the our breath is the greatest gift that we've ever been given. It truly is,
Mm.
you know? Um, yeah, so just, and this is conversations like this. I believe in the metaphysical sometimes more than the physical. I really play with the unseen realms.
Yeah.
And I don't speak, that's the container I don't really speak about yet or have really, shown up in the space of LinkedIn. I don't know if it really does. Um, but through the breath and through these practices, it's just pure presence. I know. Yeah, we could talk. I think you and I could have conversations for hours about books that we're reading and about all of the things that have helped us on our journey. And
Yeah.
but
All
again,
this, all,
it
yeah.
comes back to the individual person knowing they have the discernment and inner guidance to allow them to find what tools they need, what coach is right for them. It's not, I'm not here to I don't convince anyone. It's not, that
No.
work feels yucky. And I said that recently, and I know we're at Q&A time, but like convincing people that, they'll save money and turnover to offer addiction resources. Sorry, my language, you fucking
I
kidding
could
me?
tell how upset you were getting over that.
That's where this big transformation is happening within me, is again recognizing what feels good and what doesn't. And the more I think about tying that business case to really who I am and what I offer, it doesn't align.
I have some changes coming on my end with my business and the community as well. Um, Totally exactly related to that, where it's like I don't feel comfortable trying, like the forcing, the efforting. I just want to be the signal, the beacon, the light that
Yeah,
emanates, and it attracts who it's going to attract. And
yes,
you know, I think you'll resonate with the analogy. And Rich O'Brien's on here. I know he and I have talked about this a lot. It's like a candle loses nothing by lighting other candles. But it's not entirely true because if you're out there like tipping your candle out and trying to light all these candles, you are dripping wax. You are losing a part of yourself. But if you sit there and you burn your light as bright as it can without worrying about who's going to be lit from this or how big is my flame going to be, you're just doing your thing and burning your light. Like that's exactly what I feel from you.
that's the lighthouse. So a lighthouse doesn't look for boats to save. It just shines its
Mm,
light,
yeah.
right? And
I haven't heard that. I love that.
oh, good, good, because yeah, it's exactly what you're saying about the candles. It's just be the light and trust that it will come to you. Yeah, resistance, is information, that's for sure. Um, it's all information. Energy is information, light is information.
Amazing, amazing. This is not enough time.
I know.
This is not enough time. Just like any final words, not to like coach anyone, but like a message. Like what would you want to share with people that are struggling, whether it's dealing with substance addictions or any sort of depression? Like you have such a powerful message to share.
I don't know, the first word that just came to me was grace.
Mm.
Grace, but really, really understand what grace means. Um, you know,
Which
there's
is
no,
what? What's your like definition of that?
like absolute true acceptance, unapologetic, no excuses, no shame, just full self-acceptance, grace upon self of where you are right now, that we have to accept where we are before we can take a step forward. Otherwise, we are in resistance of what is. We're resisting life. We are human. And for the love of all, look at what we have been put through. It's not our fault.
We're
We have
being
been,
forced into
we're
humanity, like we
being,
are.
right now, we truly are. We're like, we're like a really big snow globe right now. And so, um, yeah, I think full self-acceptance that this is where we are. We have to accept every corner of our life, every part of who we are before we can actually move forward. And, that's when forgiveness comes to mind.
Yeah.
And recognizing, like, again, we're here to experience all spectrums. There is no perfect.
And forgiveness is an act of self-love. If you love
Yeah,
yourself, you can forgive it. It's not about the
yeah,
other person or
yeah, yeah.
I want to just share, like, because if anyone watching or listening, and I don't know if you've seen this, but James Vanderbeek, who just passed, he had the most amazing. I mean, I had tears rolling down my cheeks when I was watching his video. It was on his birthday. Maybe it was his last birthday before he died. And he said he was talking about identity and self-worth. And he said, when I was growing up, I was an actor and that was my identity, and it was never all that fulfilling. And he goes, then I got married and I was a husband, and that was way better. And then I had kids and I was a father, and that was so much better. And then I became this sick guy who had cancer, and I couldn't be the dad that I was no, used to being. I couldn't be the husband that I was used to being. I couldn't be a steward of the land that I was living on. So who was I? And he's like, I was. I found out that as I am, I'm worthy of love. He said God's love. You could say it however you want, but God, that's just like, to me, that's when you were talking about grace, that's just what came to mind. Like, you're worthy of love no matter what, because you exist.
The last thing that remains when nothing else does.
Yeah.
When you
Uh,
strip it all away, love remains.
yeah.
So, yeah,
That's why we're here.
that's why we're here. Yeah, making waves.
Well, I'm gonna stop this recording. I'm gonna start it up again for some Q&A.